Everyone, my name is Noriaki Okamoto. I'm from Rikyo University in Tokyo, Japan. Today, I'd like to talk about my research titled An Ontological Analysis of Corporate Income, the Diversity of Markets, and the Power of Collective Declaration. This study is still work in process, and I just summarized my idea uh, in these slides. So I do welcome your feedback from different perspectives. Okay, please let me briefly introduce myself to you. I'm an accounting researcher in Japan, so I normally teach accounting courses such as financial accounting and advanced accounting, etc. However, I've been interested in sociological and philosophical analysis of economic reality in accounting and finance in terms of the concept of collective intentionality. When I was a PhD student, I came across John Searle's books, Raymond Summer's books, and other similar books, and I found it really interesting. And since then, I have applied such perspective of collective intentionality to accounting phenomena. Recently, I'm also interested in the concept of performativity, which draws attention from scholars in various disciplines. And I recently published my little article in Journal of Economic Methodology. So I'd like to take this opportunity to share my idea about ontology of income with others. Probably most of you have the background of philosophy. Then I'd like to explain the objective of this study. In Social Ontology Conference in 2019, last year, held in Tampere, Finland, I saw several presentations about ontology of blah 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 and ontological analysis of blah blah blah, and I found that such unique attempts are useful and should be accumulated. And as my field is accounting, and it's quite unique among attendants in this conference, for example, I thought I could contribute to the existing literature on social ontology and possibly accounting studies or accounting researchers by conducting similar type of research. I'm not 100% sure, but social ontology is, I think, widely known research field in philosophy, but I think only some social scientists know this field. Then when I started considering this type of research, this question popped up and I thought I have to deal with this one. This is a social ontology approach and established methodology for social scientific studies. How is it possible? In my opinion, the answer to this question is no at this moment, but at the same time, I think this can be one of the goals of this community or conferences. To deal with the research question on the previous slide, I found Epstein's classification is useful. He classified the objective of social ontology into two parts. The first one is anchoring, and the second one is grounding. I'm not sure if I could fully understand his profound distinction. I just summarized his analysis. Those two functions, anchoring and grounding, they are two fundamental notions at the heart of social ontology. Then the grounding project is the inquiry into the conditions for social facts to obtain, and the anchoring project is the inquiry into what puts those conditions in place, and he argues that it's not purely causal. So, in this research project, rather than identifying causal relationship between income and other factors, to ground corporate income, the present study relates it to other facts, such as money and markets. This is what Epstein suggested as one of the methods. And second, from an anchoring or constructivist viewpoint, a performativity perspective is applied in this study. As I just mentioned, in this study, I assume that corporate income is grounded on the concept of money and markets. Then in this study, I reviewed recent foundational and general analysis of money and markets. I thought it would be useful for the grounding attempt. Regarding a comprehensive analysis of money, I relied on the book titled The Social Life of Money, written by Nigel Dodd. According to his argument, he said, firstly, money is a process, whatever material or immaterial form it takes in practice. And secondly, he said that this is where money fits in, not as an end itself, but rather as a means through which a greater range of options is opened up for organizing production, exchange, credit, and debt. He also mentioned that to support a more open, multifarious, and flexible monetarist system, what he calls a society of monies, not money, is hardly unrealistic. Then I also looked at a thorough, comprehensive analysis of markets written by William A. Jackson. He mentioned that economic behavior cannot be explained through its micro foundations, and a richer layered perspective is required. He also stated that variability of markets is troublesome for orthodoxy and best minimized, whereas a layered scheme treats it as vital to an adaptable, evolving economy. Okay, let me add his analysis of markets further. He said that reality falls between two extremes. Markets have common properties as well as diversity. And he also mentioned that markets do not encompass the whole economy, and they rely on other arrangements. And also, if systematic approaches are to be retained, they should acknowledge complexities and admit multiplicity and layering of systems. Okay, here on this slide, let me summarize the findings of my review of recent studies on markets and money. According to the analysis of money and market, the diversity or multiplicity of them is highlighted in an evolving economy, and it needs to be considered when we ground corporate income. Then I focus on a rather more dynamic aspect of income in the latter part of this study. And then I set up this question: how do we grasp changes of corporate income? It means that my focus has shifted from grounding to anchoring. Epstein also said in his article that anchoring takes place in many ways. The anchoring project needs to look for a variety of anchoring schemas and to develop an understanding why each of various schemas works to set up social facts to have grounding conditions they do. Then hereafter, I'd like to focus more on accounting, my specific cases. Then in this study, I'd like to take Epstein's comment, anchoring relation is not causal, seriously. If I review previous accounting studies, a large volume of empirical accounting research has pursued the causal relationship between income and other economic factors, such as stock prices or corporate financial conditions. They often use statistical methods or econometric technical methods. But I also think that the strong link between market stock prices and income information does not make the concept of income exist. Here, I'm not saying those empirical accounting studies are useless. Rather, I'd like to say that stock price can reflect different factors, such as political or economic conditions or any kind of factors. Then what I would like to argue from the anchoring perspective is that how to categorize and calculate corporate income under current official accounting standards is significant. Then I would like to suggest a framework of anchoring social facts about income. In my recently published article, I argued that social institutions such as corporate income perform collectively accepted social norms. Those social norms are the ontological in Thrillian sense, and they are also observability. Then a researcher can be an observer and identify the normativity. For example, they might be changed of collectively accepted social norms. Social institutions are set by operating members. They perform collectively accepted social norms through collective declaration. And any social actor can be operating members, and others, they are non-operating members, tacitly or collectively accept what operating members decide. For instance, in financial accounting context, one of the most important operating members is the accounting standard setter. And this idea of operating member initially constructed by, I think, Raymond Suomatter, was highlighted in Epstein 2015 as well. Okay, this slide just depicts my argument, the relationship between collectively accepted social norms and social institutions. There's a performative relationship between, collectively accepted social norms and social institutions such as accounting standards. And please know that in some cases, there's a possibility of counter-performativity, and it actually changes the existing institutions. Then listen, social facts about corporate income set by operating members are as follows. I just picked up two movements. The first one is about the shift from traditional net income calculation to the concept of comprehensive income. The comprehensive income consists of the unrealized gain of specific assets, or it may be holding gains. It's the difference between market prices and the book value of specific assets, for example. So the second trend is KPI, or key performance indicators, and non-GAAP measures. GAAP stands for generally accepted accounting principles. So it just means a set of official accounting rules. This second trend means that corporations have started using kind of non-financial performance indicators, and they also use non-official kind of private corporate performance indicators. So on this slide, let me summarize how income has evolved recently. There are 2 points I'd like to mention here. It has become more comprehensive to include more market results, the changes of market prices, and secondly, other types of new income figures such as KPIs have emerged recently. And please note similar tendencies were seen in the analysis of money and markets. As I mentioned previously, they are also multifaceted recently. Then let me give you tentative conclusion from this study. Firstly, income has become diversified, even though it's a kind of gradual process and take takes long time. And secondly, it might reflect or I would like to say perform diversified markets and money through collective declaration. And thirdly, integration of grounding and anchoring approaches can be useful to analyze specific social institutions and their dynamism. Okay, there are lots of tasks to be done to complete this study. Firstly, social ontology as methodology is still under-researched. Some people would say this is not a method or methodology, but it's rather just a perspective. But to develop this area of social ontology further, I think we need to establish a methodological viewpoint of social ontology that can be applied in various areas or disciplines. And secondly, grounding and anchoring can be considered in various ways. In this study, I just relied on Epsteins Classification. I think I need to clarify more how we ground or anchor institutional facts, and it should be coherent. And thirdly, I think it's necessary to consider the impact of this study on existing social scientific studies, for example in accounting, and social scientists who rely on established mainstream research methods in specific areas. They might not be interested in this kind of research, but at the same time, I hope this kind of social ontology study have some implication to them. And finally, these are our references. Now I'd like to finish my presentation here. Thank you so much for your attention in my presentation. I'd like to develop this study further, so I do appreciate your feedback and comments. Thanks a lot.